Well, hello, and welcome to the Agile Cool Kids podcast. The Agile Cool Kids are Agile enthusiasts, practitioners, and thinkers from all different backgrounds, exploring our topics and having fun. We like to compare and contrast, discover new and deeper meanings, and apply Agile for the future of work. With me today, I have three guests. The first is Francesca Rossini.
Hi, everyone. I'm Francesca Rossin. I'm an Agile coach and entrepreneur. I'm Italian and living in Germany, and I like helping people through change.
And nice to see you, Francesca. And next we have Blaž Erčul. Blaž, would you like to say hello?
Hello, I'm Blaž Erčul from Slovenia. I'm an insights discovery licensed practitioner, avid animal lover, worked in hearing aid field for 9 years, and now I'm a freelancer, and I've started my own journey in September.
Hello, Blaž. And finally, we have Agnieszka Szymańska. Agnieszka, would you please say hello?
Hello, Don. I am a people expert, and I'm super passionate about spreading Agile across different departments and sectors. After almost 10 years spent in China, I am currently living in Germany. Thank you so much for having me.
Always a pleasure to talk to this group. So today we have a topic to talk about. We're going to look at one aspect of Agile transformations. And actually, Blaž has a story that can kick us off that he heard just a few days ago. So, Blaž, would you like to open up the conversation?
Yes, of course. I have been listening to a lecture of our philosopher Slavoj Žižek this week, and he was talking about happiness and why were people happier under communism in Czechoslovakia in '68 rather than now. And I connected it to the topic of Agile and was starting to think if we are doing Agile transformation, is there a sweet spot, or do we have to be 100% Agile to be really Agile? Of course, it all starts with change of mindset, but there are, of course, other things in Agile transformation. So first of all, what he said that there are three conditions. First of all, the material needs need to be met, but not 100%. He said that if you get coffee every day in the supermarket, it's not as rewarding as if you get it almost every day, which would mean that you might have some, let's say, Agile events, things to do, but not really, that they would not really be met 100%. Second of all, he said that democracy should not be taken too seriously to be happier. He connected that to that you always have somebody to blame, which I connected to self-organizing teams. If you are self-organizing teams, accountable for your own work, you might be under some kind of pressure. If you mess up because you self-organized and you have nobody to blame. And maybe you might be happier if you had somebody to blame. And the third one, you would have to have an image of a paradise, or in our case, an Agile company where things work greatly, when everything is good. That should not be too close to you, because if it's too close to you, it's basically the same as in your company. And if it's too far away from you, too different than what you're doing, it's only a vague dream to start this big transformation. So I would like to get your thoughts on those three conditions, and what do you think about it? How would you connect it? And because you have more experience in Agile transformations than I do.
Yes, it's a fascinating. It's a kind of fascinating insight. There's so many questions in there. But you mentioned there's 3 points, so maybe we can tackle them one at a time. So your first one was meeting material needs, but not 100% to be happy. Yeah. Who'd like to share their thoughts on that one to get started?
I was thinking of how you connected this coffee nearly every day, but not every day, to the daily stand-ups. And I like that idea. I have to say that I like that idea, especially when teams realize the benefits of meeting every day for a very short time, to see how much closer they are to the sprint goal, for example, or to whichever goal that they set for themselves. So when this is not happening, I wish they could feel the need to do that, like they really miss it. So I like that. I really like that, I have to say. What about you?
I was
Well,
thinking about the, sorry, Blaž, would you?
no, I was just thinking about how many Scrum teams are saying that they are oversaturated with this daily stand-up. They have nothing to say. And basically because their needs are met 100%, and that's a daily occurrence. So feel free to continue.
Agnieszka.
I was thinking about the psychological mechanism beyond that it's super hard for us as humans to appreciate and to feel gratitude for something what we take for granted. And only at the moment we miss something or just have a thought of not having something in the future, that is the mechanism that led us to suddenly appreciate something what we have. So I think it's deeply rooted in psychology.
Well, yeah, Agnieszka, I agree with you. And when Blaž was explaining this, I first thought of Maslow's triangle, right? You've got to meet the material needs of everyone to then be able to function at a higher level, right, and meet your goals. And for some people, having coffee every morning is a definite necessity. They can't function without it, right? Yes. But then when you were talking about when the lecturer was talking about not having it every day makes the people feel grateful for when they do have it. That then turned very dark for me, and I thought, wow, this is a way of controlling people and making them happy by limiting their resources, and making people feel, isn't it grateful that we've got coffee today? Oh, isn't it brilliant? Whereas, well, why can't you have coffee every day? It's just a simple thing. Is it really that difficult? And then I also have to sort of, the connection to the stand-up, I think, doesn't work for me because it's not about the value of the stand-up to the people and limiting it. They wouldn't feel grateful by, today we're having a stand-up, right? I think more the value comes from talking to people, having people being talked to and listened to about their work and being helped and supported, or knowing that someone is doing something to unblock their work. So by limiting it's not really any benefit. I don't see any benefit at all. In fact, it's a hindrance. People need to work. People have to work together in teams, and they do that by listening and talking, and supporting to each other. If they don't do that enough, so maybe your point is maybe you reflected on a lot of people get bored in stand-ups. I think that's how you're doing your stand-up is boring, rather than the problem is with having a stand-up. You know what I mean? Does that help? And I think more just on the material things, we want to have, Maslow's triangle. If we can fulfill the bottom layers, we can get to that self-actualization, where there's much more, potential for everyone to reach, rather than worrying about, can I get coffee today? Can I have a stand-up today? I'd rather, can I get my product out of the door today? Can we satisfy our customers today? How does that go down?
To be honest with you, Don, when I was thinking of the stand-up reference, and I see what you mean, and I definitely agree with you, by the way. I was thinking of a team that I've been helping recently, and they are not 100% on this project. So obviously they cannot have a stand-up every day because they have 1 or maybe 2 days per week where they need to work on something else. So obviously on those 2 days, I know, not the perfect situation. I know, but this is what they have right now.
Yes.
I'm helping them through that.
Yeah.
So they realized how much faster and how much, how to say, how better it is for everything and for everyone when they can actually concentrate on this one project that is more agile for sure, and have this daily check with each other. They call it daily check. They don't necessarily call it daily stand-up, and it doesn't matter. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. But they realize the difference. So that's what I was thinking. And it's not that anybody is limiting them. They could have a daily check on the other days, just not together because they're not working at the same thing. So it would be with other people. So that's what I had in mind. And definitely this way, if it had been a controlling way, then it would have been definitely terrible. I agree, definitely.
I did it in a way I was reflecting whether it was more controlling or letting people experience the difference. So I let it for your assessment, whether it was more controlling or experiencing. But in people's department, very small, like 5-6 people, we started with dailies. And it was just too much for that moment. So there was no need and no value doing it daily. And then we did retro and reduced to 3 times. And then we were not sure whether it's optimum, more or less. And then I proposed, because that's the way adults learn, to experience how it would be for a week or 2 without at all having dailies. And we did it. And then we meet for a not really daily, just a little bit longer retro, where everyone was reflecting what they missed and what was good, because it was not everything they missed. They said it was for them great. They didn't have one more meeting, one more fixed appointment. They could go with the workflow. They have a little bit more time to structure in a more flexible way their tasks. So it was not all bad, but definitely they realized over the time, and it was only few days, that more and more misalignment was there, which with the time, small steps kind of drove back them achieving fast and in efficient way fast results. Yeah. So it was kind of controlling, like in a sense you control an experiment, but it was not in a way controlling on purpose, withdrawing. I'm scared every time you mention withdrawing and coffee at the same sentence. I feel a lot of tension in my body.
Yes.
But it was kind of controlled situation as well from my side.
Yes, but I think the difference I saw there was the intention was to have an experiment, to find, to learn and discover. That's your intent. And yeah, going to less and more frequently. If the intention is we need to figure out how we do this for our benefit, I don't see anything wrong with that. But when the intention is we're going to control you by not doing something for you, then yeah, that's a problem there. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I have one more thought. I was just thinking about the dopamine surges, like when you eat something good. If you eat that every day, 5 times a day, you won't get the same surge as if you have it once in a while. So that really depends probably on a little bit of self-controlling behavior. Like if I have Francesca coaching me once in a while, it's such a lovely occurrence. I can't wait. But if I have her for 12 hours every day, it's like, okay, I have this and it's valuable, but I wouldn't really have the same dopamine surge as I would have otherwise.
So variety, mix it up a bit.
Exactly.
Try different kinds of stand-up. try different kinds of retro, and try different coaches.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
And I was reflecting, listening to you, Don, as well, that you can use any dynamic, any mechanism, like you said, depends on the intention, in a good way and in a bad way.
Oh yeah.
You can use the withdrawal as a controlling mechanism. Even I will give an exaggerated but true example, torture of withdrawing sleep from people. So you can use any mechanism for, let's call it evil purposes. So it's very strong point you mentioned, the part of intention.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, that was a great conversation on that topic. Shall we go to the next one?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. What was the second point?
The
The sec-
democracy should not be taken too seriously.
Exactly.
Ah,
And how that relate to Agile?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don, you started this time?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think the idea here is that democracy don't. I think your words were democracy don't take it too seriously because people don't feel that accountability. They want someone to blame.
Exactly.
And I have a real problem with that because I think that is a psychologically very negative place to be. That if you abdicate all accountability, can those people really grow, and are they really happy? I really can't think that because I really can't think of a situation where blaming everybody else and having that's what do you call it? It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect, for personality. I don't care what everyone is going. It's not my fault. We see it such a lot recently in the UK, and we see it such a lot sometimes. But it's to me, it's a very childlike existence. Adults are one thing that defines being an adult is being accountable for things, and it starts with yourself. So getting back to Agile though, I also thought that blaming someone for mistakes is also a huge missed opportunity to learn from those mistakes and to understand that when we make a mistake, something's gone wrong. Let's fix something that's gone wrong so we don't have to do that again, and we'll get better. I would much rather focus on getting better and raising awareness of that than, oh, well, someone's made a mistake. Yeah, fire them or get rid of them or whatever happened. It's their fault. And we just carry on until the next time. I really can't understand that. Yeah. So that's what I took away. And of course, Agile is all about opening the doors to trying experiments, trying things, learning, inspecting and adapting, and finding better ways to do things for people. So that's how I'm bringing it there. Agile transformations are about changing that mindset of the blame culture or absence of accountability into discovery and experimentation. That's what I think the transformation is all about.
I like where this is going. I was exactly thinking of the failing culture, the failure culture, sorry, that I appreciate so much, and it's not yet so common in organizations, unfortunately, and even in teams. It's getting there. It's much easier probably for teams because they're smaller. But still, teams are complex systems anyway, so they are influenced by a lot of other things that are coming into the team or going outside of the team, but still it's a bit easier in the teams, and it really creates the community when there's a mistake, and the mistake is considered as an opportunity to learn and to inspect and adapt, then the whole team comes together, not only to fix the mistake, because sometimes there's nothing to fix. Sometimes it's just to understand why did it fix, and we expected a completely different result here. So what happened? What was the miscalculation before? What was the assumption that was completely wrong? I don't know, but there's always something to learn there. And by the fact that they all come together and they put their brains together to figure out what went wrong and how to change something to try again, that is where the magic happens, in my opinion. That's really powerful. And if the teams if a team together, all the components, they try to do something like that, they are set for great things, really.
And there are people in there who are innovative naturally, or are creative and want to fix things, and this allows them to sort of step in and have those conversations.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to have a great sensor for team maturity. I was reflecting because we tied it not only to what is saying about Agile, but we started with when people feel happy. And that's for me another framework, because like having or taking a step back, you have two types of, like probably more, two types of happiness, eudaimonic and hedonic. And for me, hedonic, it's more like this rather can be like short term, not having responsibility, enjoying in that sense. You have someone to blame, and having this kind of easy life without troubles, sometimes with less maturity in a person, in a team. And
Can I just check then? So that's like hedonistic. We have that view in hedonistic existence. Don't care about the consequences. Just do what you want. Yeah. Okay.
More, exactly, like short term, and not going as much into the deep purposes, which is more the eudaimonic, I think it's the pronunciation. Please feel free to correct me at the time. Satisfaction, which is more process oriented, more deep sense of what you are contributing to. So that might be one of the angle of the perspective, what in what that might be rooted, just in different understanding of happiness.
From my point of view, what I was starting to think now is, if we started to play the blame game top down and team is self-organizing, they're under a lot of pressure if something goes wrong. Of course, if we're playing the blame game, we know we are taking steps away from the agile. That's why I know some companies have at least 2 or 3 people to sign off on a certain idea or a certain task before it goes through, so that they have 3 people above the team who are accountable or responsible for it. And the team is quite relieved, like, okay, they signed it off, we are not responsible anymore. And they see it as a sign of a relief, not saying it is right, but if we are playing the blame game, at least top-down blame game, it's much easier to have, let's say, a buffer in between.
Oh, sure. But then those people in that buffer, they have all the accountability. So what are they going to do about it? They're going to make really sure that the team are doing exactly what they want them to do, right? And starting controlling exactly how they work and what they're working on and what they're doing and quality and all the rest, right? And anyone who's going to get in their way, they're going to fight.
Yes. And then
right? If the stakes are really high, like, well, you're going to be accountable for this. Oh, okay. We call them project managers before, right? They were accountable for everything. So they behaved accordingly.
And then you get the micromanagement, or you get people just assigning tasks, flying around left and right. So you can say bye-bye to self-organizing teams at that point.
You got to work the weekend to get this finished because I said so. because I promised someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think what can help organizations and teams do this is to reframe. It's reframing the behavior and reframing the culture as not one of accountability and blame, but more of discovery and experiments. And especially like the idea of we need to understand that we don't know what the future is, so we have to discover it. What kind of things can we do to discover what things are right and wrong? Have a discovery, because if you don't experiments never fail, right? They always come with a result. And the result is either what you expected or what you didn't expect. And in either way, you've learned something. So there's no negative there. It's just understanding that we're on a learning journey. Well, I guess the only time an experiment fails is when you didn't do it right and you didn't learn anything, right? But but we can hopefully do better experiments. And I think if we were able to explain or set the scene of in organizations that if we organize like this, people behave better and people are aligned better and there's more creativity available. But moving to that is difficult.
It is. And especially when you have conditions that are still the same pressing from the outside. For example,
yes.
Banks are demanding companies to return the loans that they received maybe a few months ago, a few years ago. Now they need to return it. And now you need to present a specific plan to say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to meet those requests and I'm going to send back all the money. And if you don't have solid plans, meaning forecast and budgeting and milestones and projects, how are you going to keep the banks quiet? Meaning not quiet, but like with the frame of mind that they can still trust you because you're going to return the money. So these are all conditions coming. This is just an example, obviously, of a condition coming from the outside that kind of forces the company to still behave as they've always done it.
Yes. But can we imagine an agile company, business agility practicing company that has that discovery mindset? How would they react in that situation? Right? Can you still have plans and milestones and deadlines? I think the answer is yes. And can you have a set of risks and an idea of predictability? I hope so, yes, right? And I think in doing that, the company will be giving perhaps a better illustration of how they're going about things and what the real situation is, rather than a Gantt chart of a plan with milestones that are basically wishful thinking.
Yes.
So are we talking about that the sweet spot for the transformation is different in any organization and that we have to find it to see where it is detrimental to be a little bit another step towards the right and another step towards the left, let's say?
Well, we had a third point that you wanted to get to. Do you want to do that third point and then we can maybe open up to that idea?
Yes, the third point is that you have to have an image or a vision of paradise where things are good that is not too close to you, because if you are too close to that organization, it's basically the same, nothing will change. But if you are too far away from it, which means you would have a major transformation that you cannot even imagine how to make it, the transformation is only a vague dream.
Yeah. Okay. Agnieszka, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, there is a saying that the worst wish is that your dreams come true.
Yeah.
It's similar. I run ultra, and the similar is that the whole trial, you focus on the finish line as an end goal. And so many people, me including, that was one of my reflections when I listened to you, Blaž, that most of the time, if not every time, you are not happy when you are reaching. Like for a very short while you are, because you made it. But then what you often, if you really concentrate in a sense of reflection, more often than not, what you feel is actually sadness. Because you reached what you have been running for the 10 or 14 or 15 hours. And then like, okay, what next? So with this dream, it's per se, per definition, not reachable. I can imagine it's pretty powerful, like horizon, something you, per definition cannot reach, but it's your like North Star, like kind of guidance compass, not something you really want and aim to reach.
Oh, now the thought popped into my mind. Is it better to have, to be in a constant transformation, that you are trying to achieve something, than being transformed and facing the depression of this is our new reality?
I was thinking of Google KPIs. They, on purpose, and there are no rewards tied to reaching or not KPIs, to make clear that point. On purpose, the framework, what they use is setting KPIs in a way you are not able, they are not meant to be reached. And the idea beyond is exactly similar. Like when you aim for whatever you define as not reachable 100%, you reach 80, which is anyway more than if you would set up for 80 you're able to reach, but then very likely you're getting, I don't know, 65, 70. So yeah, that's the framework they work with, and it was pretty interesting for me to aim as high as you are not able to reach, but then of course you need to be willing, you need to can deal and so have the skills and be willing to deal with that frustration which might come by not reaching the goal.
Jessica, what's your thoughts on this one?
That's interesting when Agnieszka was just saying KPIs and not being reached. Of course, I had to think of OKRs and the fact that the key results usually are measured up to 100% to sure, but starting from 75%, you already see a green light there, meaning that you got it. It's good. 75% is good. So that's very similar. I like that. And regarding the image of paradise, then I have to think of organizations and companies in general that think that the transformation is the vision, and I think that this is the wrong frame of mind. The transformation itself is the how you get to your vision, but that should be the vision of the organization, of the company, of the team. Yes, inspiring. Yes, unreachable. Not so completely unicorns and rainbows like, it's not that kind of unreachable. It should be still something that people can aspire to, for sure, but not around the corner, so that you need work and you need to find new ways of getting there, because clearly the old ways haven't taken you there. So that's where the transformation goes, as I see it. And the transformation is more the how, not the vision, the final vision.
Kind of the tool, not to get there.
Yes. And if I can say, it's the way.
Mm,
If you look watching The Mandalorian, this is the way, right?
right.
And yeah, I agree with all of you that what I'm thinking of is, and this is something that I agreed with the lecturer on. The vision should be, a far vision, far enough away that it's attracting you, it's inspiring you, it's inspiring the organization to go and do something, have energy to get there. But also, if we think about vision, I want to have the difference between a vision and a mission.
Mm,
The vision is that far-flung idea of paradise you mentioned, Flash. It's that idea of a far paradise that, if only we can get there, and we might never get there. We never know. Some visions you will be able to get there, others not. I'm thinking of things like, in the UK we have Cancer Research UK, and their vision is, a world without cancer.
mm,
So we can imagine that. I mean, we'll get there someday, but it's far off in the future. Or there are many others like that. Whereas a mission is a definite goal, and that is closer and achievable. You might take, months, even years to get there, but it's definitely achievable. And I think, many missions make up a vision or a roadmap towards that vision. And I'm thinking also, in Japan in the 90s, there used to be a trend for organizations to have their logo, and their logo would be incomplete. I remember seeing one. It was I think it was an oil company or something like that, and it was a red disc, just like the Japanese flag, but with some of it missing, cut off. And the idea here was, we are not whole. We have to work to make it whole. Yeah. So it was very, very simple, but a powerful thing to say, that we have to keep progressing, keep working, and then then I'm reminded of that saying, the journey is the goal. Transformations don't end. Companies are never transformed. They are always transforming, right? Because there's always new things to do, new things to learn, new experiments to try. There's always change happening. The agile, and maybe I can refine it down to say, currently the agile mindset is the goal. If everyone in the company could adopt those practices and techniques, then whatever you are trying to do, you'll get there easier, quicker, healthier. So yeah, yeah. And the last thing I think it reminded me of was when Simon Sinek talks about the infinite game. It's not about the end; it's about playing. You got to keep playing. Yeah, and I think that's I don't know how well that's understood in the business community by business leaders, not by agile coaches. Yeah. So that's what I thought about visions. So I think you're right, Vlad. It should be inspiring, attractive thing that everyone can, wherever they are in the organization, can understand and work towards. And so many companies have visions that are just not like that.
And I think the purpose is different. The purpose, and you mentioned it, and I just wanted kind of for myself more wrap it up. Like you said, vision. The purpose of vision is to inspire.
Yeah.
Not necessary the purpose to reach it. The purpose is to inspire.
Yes.
And
yes.
vision is more an answer. Okay, how can we get there?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so how's it going, guys? So we've covered those three topics, but then what were the last thoughts on what was your last roundup one that you wanted to ask?
Nothing much. I think we covered everything that we have. I think it's time for the last thoughts for everyone. So since you started the podcast, should you start with the last thoughts?
For me? Okay,
yes.
Yeah, sure. So the last thoughts are, I think we have to be really, I think always we have to be really careful about what what do we mean when we say agile transformation? And clearly it's the cultural change that's the biggest subject to talk about there. And how do we instill these different beliefs for organizations? And I think that's what transformation is all about. Yeah. Who wants to go next? Agnieszka?
I was thinking for me, just a theme, how it wrapped up for me is super, like the hardest part of those transformations, agile transformations, is to build the trust of everyone, leaders as well, but generally everyone, trust in the process and not nailing the transformation to reaching certain results in a certain time frame. And it's so hard to deal with such an amount of uncertainty and having this deep trust in the process. That's the process, if you do it right, will generate the results. But it's nothing what you can say in 2 weeks will happen this. That's the milestone. In the next 2 weeks, this. It's so comforting to having this certainty, which is illusion, nothing more than illusion.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Francesca?
I was thinking something on the line of what Agnieszka just said, actually. I think that the hardest part is definitely the change in mindset and the behaving in a different way, using those behaviors to guide a new mindset, and exactly what Agnieszka was saying, that the human mind wants to have plans, even if those plans are illusions, right? Of course, but just the fact that you're planning makes you feel better. It's like, oh, okay, now everything is under control. Even if it doesn't work, even if plans change continuously, but still, our mind is like, okay, now everything is fine.
Yes.
Cool. And trusting the process. In trusting the process, I wish people would stop. People meaning our client, whoever we're talking about. Client, I wish they would stop asking for proof that this process works, because the very definition of the process in an agile transformation is an experiment. So no one knows how that process is going to work. No one knows, no one can give 100% proof that follow these rules and you're going to get there.
Oh, okay. I think that's a great topic for another podcast, because that's fantastic. Yeah. Yes, that's right. But this has been a great topic. Thanks for bringing it to us. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation. What would be your last comments on to take us out?
First of all, I really enjoyed conversation with all of you about the topic, and I think to really go through a transformation, you have to have a higher level of happiness or satisfaction after the transformation. Otherwise, it doesn't have a meaning. I loved your thought about finding the way, not the goal. And since we started with Slovenia, I will end with a quote with one of our Slovenian alpineers, Nejc Zaplotnik. He wrote in his book, "Anyone looking for a goal will remain empty when it will be reached, but whoever finds a way will always carry the goal inside."
That's it. That's great. Yeah.
Mic drop. Thank you.
Amazing finish line, Blush.
Okay. Well, great. That's the end of our podcast. So it's been a great conversation. I think we've all taken some interest in this one. Hopefully you take away some interesting thoughts, and we'll come back hopefully next week and do another one.
And
until then, thanks very much.
Please share your comments, what you think about all those topics. That would be amazing to read them.
Yes. Find the Agile Cool Kids on LinkedIn, and we'll see you there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.